So hi, hello, my name is Ben and welcome back to Griffiths Graphics. Today we're just going to do a little video on editing. On the weekend, I was taking photos for the Rolling Project, a motoring magazine that I do, and also taking photos for my clients at an event in Pembrey Circuit down in South Wales. And at the event, there was a motorsport and supercar festival. And if you follow Griffiths Graphics or the Rolling Project, you would know that a lot of my content and photography work is very orientated around motoring and transport. So over the years, motoring and automotive type of content has been a massive thing for myself because it's a hobby of mine. Working on cars and racing cars and driving, it's like a hobby of mine since I was a kid. So it was quite natural to get into that type of photography first. And that's how photography developed for me and for the Griffiths Graphics. And I've been doing automotive photography about 12 years now. And over the years, you learn new tricks of the trade. And I always encourage photographers to try different practices because you bring something new into your own shooting style when it comes to automotive or equine, for example. So in this little video, it's quite a short video, but I just want to go over some editing of what I look for when I take photos and edit car photography. And like many photographers, we use Lightroom. So I've got Lightroom in front of me, and I got a photo of a bonnet clip. So for motor, if you don't know anything about cars, a lot of motorsport vehicles, rally and so on, they don't have bonnet latches. They have pins in the bonnet because it's quicker to open the bonnet in case of emergencies or for repair. So that's just a close-up of a bonnet pin, basically. This is a raw photo. I haven't edited it. And usually I drop my own preset on it, and I'll drop that on it now. Let me find it. I dropped it on it. I like almost a, I don't know, it depends on the photo, but my preset's a bit cloudy, so it creates a bit more atmosphere, in my opinion. I don't know, it's quite a recognizable edit because people will recognize it to Griffiths Graphics or, for example, Rolling Project. So this edit would be on Rolling Project. So I like that, how it is, to be honest. But when I edit things, you look at things you should have considered. You miss things you should have considered when taking the photo. So for example, I'm not a fan of this here. And you will find out I'm very picky when it comes to photography. I edit and really pick my own photos. So for someone, they wouldn't think too much about that. But I don't like that there. Some could say it influences the bonnet pin because that could be the bonnet panel. Another distraction for me is that FIA there. So you could go into it and edit. So we'll see if this works. Yeah, not too bad. It needs a bit of refinement. You can see the distinguish. But personally, I would drop that just to make it tidy. Another thing with photography, if you've got something you want to draw the eye to, it's best to work with it. So maybe darken the bottom half to put focus on the pin. So for example, I'll take you to this photo. I'll put you on this. So this is an edited photo. I'll reset it. Okay, so I like my motorsport and classic cars. The reason for it is classic cars have character. There's something to look at everywhere. So the more you look at it, the more to see. And with motorsport and racing cars, I love the texture it brings. So for example, this is a Ferrari Challenge UK track car. It competes across UK and sometimes in Europe. And these cars are pushed to the limits. And they've got, if you're a racing car, you're going to hit flies, debris, stones and chips and all that. It's got like rock chips, chipping the paint. All that damage and so on, it creates the photo. So for me, taking this photo, my aim was to catch the Ferrari badge because at this event, it's a supercar event, and there was a Ferrari club, lovely machines, but they're all spotless. And if for example, this is a 488. It's a modern Ferrari. At that event, at that show, there must have been, say, 3 or 4 standard 488 Ferraris. But because this one was different, it already attracted me to it. But also it had characteristics. There's something different about it to a normal red Ferrari. I just don't see the interest in it. So I went straight beeline for this Ferrari, just because of the story behind it, but also the textures you get in taking the photo. So this is the raw photo now. So what I would do here, right? I went low to grab this, take this photo. So I went quite low, so you can see where the light's coming from. So if I go to my exposure, I always put the exposure up just a little to help me see where the light's coming from. So the light's coming from down here, from the sky down to the badge, and this is slightly darker. So I'll drop that back a bit. So I'm going to put focus on that, right? So I'll put my edit on it. So my classic edit. So again, you can see it a bit more cloudy. It brightens some bits, but also makes a bit a misty feel. And I like that in my photos. I know photography is very subjective, or design. You can hate it or not, but this is how I like to take my photos. So with any automotive photos, drop your highlights to see how things work. I would never increase the highlights in automotive photography. I just keep it below, not even half. Just keep it as low as you can. So I'm going to increase it just a little bit to bring some highlights from the sky. And then I want to influence that badge. I want to put the focus onto the badge. So one thing I've started doing to influence. So again, as I said, I've started doing. You do it. I'll continuously to play with my photos. I'll go back to editing raw photos, try something different. And for example, one thing I've started doing is influence the eye by using light. So one thing I'm doing here is I'm dragging the brush tool towards the logo in the direction of the light, okay? So by doing that, then you can play with the exposure. So for example, that's way too much, obviously, but you can see where I'm coming at. So I'm going to increase it just a bit. So there's just enough influence. So it looks like the sun's coming down on to the badge. And then I'm dropping the highlights a bit. And there you are, okay? So it's a bit more, it's not too obvious, but it's there. So that's the aim of that, okay? So it creates a bit more atmosphere and a focus to the badge. And then you could go over it with another brush. I'm doing this quite rough because I've already edited these photos, but I'll increase the shadows a bit, drop the highlights, and then I'll increase a little bit of the texture on it. Okay, so just a little bit. I don't usually use texture. So the only time I use texture and clarity is at close range. I never do it on a car. If you're taking a photo of the full car or full lorry, whatever, don't do it because it just makes your photo sharpen all over. So with this, because you're focusing on a detail, it would hurt, it doesn't hurt. And that's my type of photo, okay? So that's how I would edit my photos. Another thing, so going back to considering what you're taking photos of before you click the button. So I'll go to this. This is edited already. I'll reset it. So do you see any difference in that photo? So there is a couple of things I removed from this photo because I'm being very fussy, okay? So in this photo, I'm aimed for the fuel cap, okay? I like this Dick Lovett sponsor here, but there's two things that are bothering me I should have considered when taking the photo. One, that rivet, or that looks like an Allen key screw or tab, is way too close to the end. Way too close. I wish I either cut it out or got a bit more space, just like this. because that's bothering my eye, that's attracting my eye, and I can't really do anything about that because it makes sense that 3 is there. If I remove that, it wouldn't make sense. Another one thing that was bugging me is this down here. That little thing there, right? That's bugging me massively. So with that, I can deal with that. So I'll just remove that a little bit, and it's gone. Bang. I'll drop my edit on it. You can see it's a bit warm. It was a wet day, and that's another thing that bugs me is when it's a wet day, you don't increase the warmth. You work to the weather. You see people put in fake skies in and so on. It just doesn't. It over complicates the photo, in my opinion. So it's a grey day, rain, cold. Drop the temp a little bit. I'm dropping the highlights so it dims it a bit. Bit of the exposure. I like shadows. I like the darkness, and helps bring out the curves. So this is a shape of the air duct. So that's a nice little thing there. I would like to get rid of this, right? That flag in the background. But I like how the little sponsor is there. Okay, so there's not much else I can do in this photo. But with that, removing that little sticker there. Another thing that is slightly bothering me is this one here. But I think I can give that a miss because it's part of that long sponsor there. So it works. So that's how I look at the photo. You look at what you're focusing on, and then you build around it. You work yourself out. That's how I always look at how I take photos. So I'm trying to see if I've got another one here. So this is one of my favorite photos of the whole event, mine. This, because I'm guaranteed not many people, other photographer would have caught it, because you don't go this close to cars really. But and bear in mind, this was in the main show, so you could go up, take a photo of it on your mobile. But this is what I enjoy about racing cars and cars with character and being abused a bit, rally cars and so on, is this damage. So this is a raw photo now, but I love how that says a lot of the story there. It says, I'm a fast car. It's a Ferrari. Of course it's fast. It's got a lot of power and it's abused and used. This exhaust must be on fire and like hot, melting the grill or the diffuser around the exhaust. But also like the damage. You can see the heat have damage with paint. The stones hitting the diffuser down here. But that's just one part of the exhaust. So you can picture the hole under the car, the diffuser. It just tells a little bit of a story. So that's what I enjoy about taking photos of cars like this, is it says a lot about it. So yeah, so I put my edit on there. Again, you bring the dark, there's a lot of darkness there. So I will show a bit more shadows in here. So if I increase it a bit, and then I drop the highlights, so it's not overpowering. Increase a little bit of exposure there. And then I'll probably, you could, a lot of people just do this sometimes, pick a radial gradient, invert it, and then drop it, and they do like that. But that's not a natural look, and you're losing a lot of story there. If you're doing that or put in radial, it's not. Yes, it's an easy way to drive focus. I think with photography, you have to be creative, be an artist, work with what you've already got. So again, I'll keep with the radial here then, right? But I'll just darken the outside a bit. And when it comes to this, I'll probably just spread that out a bit. Yeah, so it darkens here. Yeah, see the difference? Like, I'm not a fan of a radial blur, but trying to use other ways to frame your photo. So yeah, those are little tips I would say about taking photos of cars, or things to consider when you're taking photos. Is a lot of this could have been stopped because of the way I shot. But when I do take photos, I take my time. I work, right, I want to take a photo of that exhaust, and then I look around the frame through the eyesight or through the screen, and you just work around and then see if there's anything distracting in that frame. Luckily you can remove things these days on Lightroom, Photoshop and so on, but the less you do afterwards, the better, because it just makes you a better photographer, in my opinion. You just enhance awareness of what you're taking photos of. So yeah, so that's basically it. I'll try and find another example. I'll show you one of my favorites from the event. This was a good one of the Ferrari again, but this was in the, so this one looks very overexposed, but that light and the glow, yes, I've manipulated a bit, but the exhaust was running at that point, so the smoke in the garage enhanced the glow of the light. So that was a nice little shot. Same with this, but I over exaggerated that. You can see that's a lot of manipulation in that photo, but it still creates a bit of drama. It's a quirky little photo. I'll show you another, my favorite photo of the event. Where is it? So this is my favorite photo of the event. So Ayrton Senna has the track record in Pembrey, in this McLaren. So Pembrey invited McLaren, and McLaren came down with Ayrton Senna's car. And if you don't know who Ayrton Senna is, he's a legend in Formula One. And this car, and he had a tragic accident a couple of years ago in Formula One, and he this car is a bit, it's nostalgic for many Formula One fans and so on. So Ayrton Senna was he's an icon, a legend. So this car was situated behind barriers, TV screens behind it, security. So you didn't have many options to take a photo. It was you wouldn't get a nice photo out of it. So the best thing to do usually is just sit and watch, look around the car, and just think of, be different, think of it differently. So as I'm a short person, I always go down on my knees and look at a lower angle, just because it's easier. And I went way below the wheel line. I went down to the floor on my knees. The security guard was watching me quite closely. He was he was wondering what I was doing. But this was taken on the other side of the barrier as well, like where everybody else was taking photos. I didn't have any privileges. I just took this. So my aim was this, to get rid of any background mess, but also create a bit of atmosphere. So again, similar to the other photo, I've dragged, I'll show you the original. That's the original, okay? So that's the original with the edit. And again, using light to drive the focus. So the wheel and below here, no light, shadow, keep the shadow dark. Again, see, I haven't done anything with that wheel. I've just left it dark. Use the edit, but increase more light, and that's bringing focus then. But also get rids that you can see. It does bother me this bit. I could probably Photoshop it. Yeah, no, I'm not going to bother, just because it's more fiddly. But you can see here, it's a shame really that TV's there. The other, maybe a better angle would be to drift around the wheel again. But by doing that, you might get rid of the screen, get rid of the TV, but you might miss the air duct. If I'm being picky, so this bit I don't like. And also, I don't like the fact this is cutting over the air duct. I don't like that, because it makes it a bit untidy. So I'm being very strict, but that's how you should be. You need to really criticize your photos. But other than that, the light has distracted the TV screen a bit, but also put influence on Senna. And I think that's a nice little touch on this photo. So again, just showing you how I take photos, and how I take photos, what I look at, especially with cars, because with this event, it was me being creative for the Rolling Project. Rolling Project is a brand that doesn't go very obvious, so trying to create close-ups, details and things. But also for my client, I was shooting as normal. When I say normal, getting different angles, being very creative in that sense, but not being too picky. But with every customer I use, provide my photography, I do go very picky when it comes to editing. For example, taking photos of horses. In the summer, you get horse flies and flies in general around the animal. I edit all of them out. I edit things minuscule, but also I can shoot I'll shoot loads of photos, but only one of those will be the best because there's something in the way, or there's a line or a shape cutting over another shape. For example, this wheel is cutting over a shape. I don't like that, especially that TV. That's more I'm looking at it, the more it's bugging me. So those little things bug me massively, but it's a good thing, and it's all strived from taking photos constantly and editing them and so on, but also working in other practices, nature and wildlife. Well, nature mainly. I've been very fortunate to work with many talented photographers, but also watching and learning from other photographers that these people are very strict and critique their photos massively, and by doing that they get the best outcome. So yeah, I know this is a bit of a short video, but it gives you a bit of insight into what I do when I take photos, and I will do a bit more on this out in the field. So soon I will be shooting with a good friend of mine and a client of mine, Max. He's a motorcyclist influencer, so he works with multiple brands, and we're scheduled to do a photo shoot down in Aviation Centre in Wales. So I'll probably bring you along to that as a chest mount, and you can just watch the shoot, and then I'll do a editing video post that. So thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for being so patient with the videos. The last couple of weeks has been quite busy with work, but also behind the scenes as well, a lot going on. So thank you very much, diolch yn fawr, and see you in the next one.